nature's comfort. Ramraj presents bamboo cotton white shirts.
South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
Darling 2025 New Year deals. Latest smartphones at lowest EMI.
Hello Arjun, welcome to Galata Plus.
Thank you for having me.
I was speaking to a friend of mine yesterday who used to be in film journalism, and one of the first things she said when I told her I'm interviewing you is that Arjun is very good at taking criticism. You can say the worst things about him, and the very next day he'll show up and, if you want to do some event with him or something like that. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
If she says it, it must be true. There's a reference point. So it's not me tom-tomming. It is true. See, because if it's a person whose criticism comes from a place where I can learn and it's healthy and it comes from a slightly analytical eye,
Right.
To improve my craft, I will obviously pay attention. If it's the audience that has paid money that has not enjoyed the work, see, audiences don't critique your performance as much as they critique the whole feeling of watching a film sometimes, The film not working can also lead to the performance not working for them. Audiences don't segregate that, but critics do segregate that. I've always used that as an advantage in my case, ki, okay, I'll get better. What I don't appreciate is personal attacks. Then you kind of feel a bit, okay, I'm trying to learn. You teach me. We all do. I mean, I'm sure if I give you a piece of my opinion as a viewer, you'll say, okay, I'll keep that in mind next time. So I enjoy that discourse. I enjoy that back and forth. I don't see anything wrong with it. And that doesn't mean I take it personally. Today, I don't know how many films of mine you've liked. It's not like I won't sit with you and talk to you about world cinema or Indian movies or in general, my own work. I don't need to hold it so personally as a grudge or something. It's fine.
Right. So one of the critiques that come against you is that we hear about Arjun talking about how there was a period your career was not doing well. There was a period when maybe some relationships were not doing well, or maybe there was something with your father. There was something with your mother's health, life. Generally life. But at the end of the day, तुम्हारे पास गाड़ी है, बंगला है, you have all dad के पैसे, like so what is it that you're complaining about? Just man up and
But I've never complained. I get asked questions.
I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. So the thing is, it's not about complaining, it's about like they feel almost that people who are born with a certain privilege are not, like, why should we pay attention to them talking about things that are not going well?
Please don't. It's fine.
So what is your answer to that?
आप सवाल पूछते हो मैं जवाब दे देता हूँ मैं रोज आके ये नहीं बोलता ये मेरी प्रॉब्लम है लाइफ में when I do interviews it gets amplified because of the fact that a journalist asked me a question about whatever and I felt the need to I'm compelled to be honest. I can pretend nothing's wrong with my life. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not saying that because of that excuse me. I've never once turned around and looked at the audience and said मेरे साथ बहुत प्रॉब्लम है सबटाइटल डाल दिया नीचे कि इस दिन मेरे लाइफ में 10 प्रॉब्लम थी अब प्लीज मेरे काम को forgive कर दो. Which is what I mean by criticism. I'm not trying to give excuses. I'm still at it. And Singham again being appreciated for my performance is validation for me that I have not once complained and said, "Nahi, please, jo main jaisa hu waise le lo." I'm striving, I'm trying. When I do a Sandeep or Pinky Farrar or I do a Mubaraka, I'm trying to experiment, I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to adapt, whether it's Anis Bazmi or a Dibakar Banerjee. I'm looking at all kinds of performances and I do feel, unfortunately, what happens is when the films don't pan out, there's a heavier raft of criticism that comes your way for selection of material. I didn't look my best. I'm not complaining that you should forgive me. I'm agreeing that I didn't look my best for certain roles. I didn't suit maybe certain roles. But you only live and learn. A creative profession is one where you will never have perfection. And I do not feel that I'm such a bad actor. Otherwise, I wouldn't survive 12 years. I know I'm good. I'm competent enough to understand when I've done well, when I can do better. My first film, I was good. Am I Parma? I'm not Parma. I know in Aurangzeb I was good. A lot of people didn't see it. Sandeep or Pinky Farrar, I know what value I brought to the table. See, he chose me. Now, whether he chose somebody else, that's a different conversation. I was cast by Dibakar. I didn't put a gun on his head. And I did my job. So, I never ever make it seem like I'm not working on the craft side of it. I never ever am trying to give excuses to the audience. It's a free-flowing conversation. Now, if you take it out of context and you say, "Acha, ye to 10 excuses," and yes, of course, I come from a privileged background. But I've had certain circumstances that are not nice.
Like everybody else.
Like everybody else. So I never take away from another person's journey. But why should you take away from my journey?
I think that discourse or that thing comes about because
the privilege.
The privilege.
And the upbringing that I've had, perhaps the assumption of the upbringing I've had, which has been very safe and secure. Financially. And there's been a certain independence of choice of choosing to be in this profession versus going through the educational paradigm and then making a choice by working and coming into a city. That, of course, is a very different journey, Baradwaj. And I cannot take away from anyone who's been through that. I don't understand it. that's a tougher journey. In the hard work that perhaps goes in the physical turmoil, the mental turmoil, the combination of it all, the perseverance, the patience. But I didn't ask for what happened to me.
Right.
So I don't know how to deal with it. You know, that journey has a certain amount of, you need to know the beats that you have to go through to reach a place.
That still has some variables that you're not equipped to, like that weren't put your way or you weren't equipped to handle.
So I didn't have, how does somebody learn how to deal with death, obesity, these are health issues, whatever, mental health issues, physical health issues. Films not doing well is secondary. I'm talking about these
Personal
are very
stuff.
And I have never come out screaming and shouting and marketing myself as that person.
Right.
I did an interview recently right here where I spoke a little more honestly. I felt because it's allowed. People are liking my work, so I would like to say, I was in a bad place. If I can come back, hopefully you can also see value in it. I'm not doing it to earn some brownie points.
Right.
But I completely understand some people might say, अरे यार ये जानबूझ के ये चीजें बोलता है ताकि इसको excuse मिल सके, ताकि जब इसका काम लोगों को पसंद नहीं आए तो अरे वो बहुत बेचारा है. That's not my intent. I'm just talking honestly. Some people like it, some don't. And you can't please everybody when you're talking honestly.
But what about Arjun's own criticism of himself? What would you say is your best performance and what would you say is your worst performance?
So my best performance, I would say, arguably, is Sandeep or Pinky Farah. And that comes from the fact that it's completely against what I was envisioning myself to do in my career also when I was growing up. It's not, I don't have reference points for that kind of performance. And also what Dibakar drew out of me from a very subconscious and cerebral level, I feel it's a very underrated film. It didn't get its due. So the performance kind of got lost, and I would recommend anybody to see.
And the film got lost, actually.
Yeah. So, and there are no excuses being given by me about the film. Now the film got lost, that's not on me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to say this, लोग बोलेंगे अच्छा ये बोल रहा है किसी ने देखी नहीं इसीलिए, पर उसमें मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता. So that's definitely my toughest performance. I feel that's my most nuanced performance, and I feel he's made me perform very well. Worst year, see Baradwaj, I think it becomes something that becomes meme culture or meme fest when you try and put somebody under the bus like that.
Yeah.
So if I do that, that would undermine the film that I chose to do. It's not like I've been perfect in any film.
Right.
I'll be the first to admit it. But if I give a name, I think it would undermine the entire choice. But if you ask me what, and I said this also, I think there are two, if I may say so honestly. I think in Panipat we got the look wrong. I think that took away from my performance. But that was not in our hands. And historically, that is the way the character, the people looked.
Right.
But I feel it created a lot more eyeballs on the visual rather than the emotion of it. And therefore, I feel that is something which is not my worst performance, but it's something that kind of watered down and petered down into becoming more about the physical part. I feel I was reasonably decent in the film, but that got lost. And I wish I didn't have to dub for Half Girlfriend with the dialect, because I think I'd done a good job on set, and then unfortunately I had to dub, and I'm not somebody who's very fond of dubbing because I think it undermines the honesty in that moment. Also, we in this generation don't dub all the time. So I feel not to say it's my worst or whatever, but I look back as a critic and say I wish I was able to retain the pilot. I was much better with my dialect. You'd learn the dialect to perform it. Like Dibakar's film is sync sound.
Yeah.
Half Girlfriend, unfortunately, I was leaving for Mubaraka's outdoor. The film's release date got preponed. I had to dub for the whole film and leave. And I feel I crunched myself in because of circumstances and just dubbed. Right. I was not able to get, like Vikrant is much better in the dub. He's a much better actor in the film also in that sense. Much more nuanced in that sense. But I was supposed to play more to the gallery.
Right.
But I was not able to get the dialect bang on in the dub, which I had in the pilot. So that's a minor look back and a learning experience for me. Also, I tend to speak very fast in most films. That's a problem that I try and work on. This is just self-analysis. And of course, my look, I have to keep working on to look better and better. Yeah.
Right. So when you are on a film like Singham again, right? You are in the midst of a sea of people. Like there's like so many people, right? How as opposed to Sandeep or Pinky or Tevar or you know, like Ishaqzadeh, all your other films where you're pretty much, may be in Gunde there's Ranveer as well.
Finally had all of us together.
Right. But otherwise there's, you know, this is a you know, like a, how do you make sure that when you pick up a script, this script, and see, do you say, you know what, I'm just going to go there because it's going to be fun. I'm going to be working with Rohit Shetty, so that's what it is. Or is there also the creative person in you that says, even if it is Rohit Shetty, I still want to make sure that I want that this part is going to come out right, that I'm going to be good in it. Is that something that you look for?
I think the endeavor is this latter, what you said, always, regardless. You also, I mean, in the past, I've said no to enough films where I felt I can't add value or maybe I didn't enjoy the material.
Right.
I've always been a firm believer in ensembles and these multi-starers. Even if you see Two States, for me, is full of the family. Mubaraka has the family. So I embrace this energy exchange of, I love working, like for me, the high of doing a Tevar is having Manoj Bajpayee to play off.
Yeah.
When I do Finding Fanny, I'm driving a car in which Nasiruddin Shah and Pankaj Kapoor are going to play off each other. I've always embraced that. So for Singham, I was never concerned about in this space. I was excited about the space of having all these actors because I felt I'll get to perform much better.
Yeah.
When I chose Singham, or rather when Rohit sir offered me Singham, I was at a point, Baradwaj, where I needed to do something to flip the switch. I think the fuse was diminishing in the audience's connect with me.
But was the fuse kind of dimming in
It
you
had
as
switched within me,
right.
Off because of a lot of circumstances. I'm somebody who's grown up loving cinema, and then I was not able to get myself to even be excited about going on set. I love Rohit Shetty's this universe. I was going to play an antagonist to all these big boys.
And girl.
And girl, yes.
Yeah.
Deepika got added in that, yes. I was going to be able to perform in a mainstream space where my belonging is from the beginning.
Yeah.
So there is a chance to really resonate with the audience that first approved me. The signals were from them.
Yeah.
And it was against the grain. Because in my age group, nobody had done this. Because it's a scary thing to do. You can get lost, you can mess it up. Also, this could have been a career ender. This new lease of life, this 2.0 is very easy today for me to sit with you relieved and talk. I could have got lost and they could have had to chop my role off and maybe protect me.
Right.
I wanted to do something which is on edge, even in a mainstream film, because I said this is the only chance to really get that emotion across on screen. And also, the other thing I liked in the material is even when I'm not there, they're only talking about me. So what happens is the role always got built. In the first 30 minutes, you build Danger Lanka. So when you land, for a second, you can have an issue with Arjun Kapoor, the casting. But if we land correctly, which is actually what happened, if you land correctly in those 5 minutes of me enjoying and savoring killing people, if we can land that, you're going to be invested enough to say, okay, this is the guy they spoke about, he is menacing.
Right.
So I think that was an interesting challenge that, okay, they're speaking about him, can we make it land? And credit to Rohit, sir, the way he shot the introduction. I keep getting, everybody I meet, they talk about and I don't have dialogue in that. So sometimes there's a physicality you bring to the part, you suit the part. I think that's another thing.
Right.
We made it look a certain way. So the challenge became about taking it upon ourselves to really connect with the audience with this character. For me, at least, it was always very personal that in a big film, ye log apna kaam kar lenge, because it's a big film. There's a certain amount of audience ready for this film. When they come to see them, can they take a bit of me back also? And perhaps that's what happened. But I worked very sincerely towards playing Danger Lanka as a straightforward hero in his head and enjoying myself doing that.
Actually, that's a very mature way of looking at it. As in, they may not come to see me, but if they come to see the other people, maybe they'll take a little bit of me back with them.
They were not coming to see me for a while. I mean, let's be honest.
So Arjun, when that's not happening for a while,
you do something like this.
Right. No, my question is, you always wanted to be a director.
Yes.
Did any part of you say, let me switch to what my original passion was and kind of, see if that... Because the way you talk is very much like a director. I think you're talking about the character landing, the look, the film landing, it's not the typical actor talk, It's like...
I'll take that as a huge compliment.
It actually is.
I think I've always wanted to be part of the creative process of filmmaking.
Right.
My father's a producer. Yes, I did want to be a director. I became an actor. I've used all these experiences to hopefully one day explore that more well-roundedness of being able to make films. In this moment, ironically, what you're saying is very, very true, but I was not veering towards direction at this point because I feel direction, I still wanted to write material that would excite me to that level to make myself. But I started investing time and energy meeting writers to become a producer to begin with. I think I feel the first stepping stone for me would be to independently produce a film. And then perhaps look at direction as an option and produce not with me acting in it.
Right.
That's something. So ironically, in the COVID time frame, I decided, okay, this is the right time to start investing. I started meeting writers. I started developing material. I picked up a few remakes. And I'm on the cusp
to be a producer.
To be a producer. And to find directors and pitch it to actors and find a studio, put it together, execute it and stand on set and make sure that it's made the way arguably perhaps sometimes the films I've imagined while signing on have not panned out,
Yeah.
which is also a learning.
Which is why people say on paper it looks good, but then on
And that's happened to me a couple of times,
Yeah.
which it's happened to every actor.
Yeah.
Sometimes it turns out to be not as good, but the audience still likes it, because you set a standard.
Right.
Anyways, coming back to that, I realized production would be the first thing. So I've started working on that. That's very, very close to getting clarified and sorted. So I'm hoping in the next coming 2 years you would see me and we would be able to sit across and speak about that aspect of my life. Direction exists, but I think, I would like to take a little more time off for direction. I would have to submerge myself into first the material, then the prep, and then the making. So I think when I'm slightly more satiated from this 2.0 Arjun that is emerging, and if I feel I can take a longer time frame, then I would get into direction.
But that's definitely still there.
100%.
Okay.
100%. So I think when I'm doing a scene also, I know the shot division in my head. I try and learn from, okay, the director shoots it like this. Okay, he's mounting it like this. Okay, this is the angle. So I'm using all my experiences to become hopefully a better director only. So I really look forward to directing soon.
After finishing a scene, do you look at yourself?
I don't go to the videos.
You don't go to the
No,
videos.
I don't.
You is that something?
I'm very, very critical and I'd always want to do more. So I do that for songs and action because you need posture and body language. I think those are the two places you really have to go and because you think हमने बहुत ताकत डाल दी, it doesn't translate on camera. You can feel you're being expressive, but it's not showing.
Right.
Those are the two places where you need to know where to tone it up, tone it down, and the body language. I feel for scenes, for technical reasons, I would go and see it. If you need to get into position, but there's a certain belief you need to have in your director.
Right.
I'll enjoy the shot once in a while if the directors really liked it, if I feel I've given. But it's not like every take ke baad I need to go and check it. I don't
So you
like
don't
that.
activate the director in you when you're acting?
No. Because that would be disrespectful to the set.
No, not. You don't necessarily have to go and tell them, but in your own
No,
process.
so what happens is when I read a scene, I'd kind of imagine a scene. In my van, I'm sitting, I imagine the scene. When I go, I start understanding, okay, he's shooting it like this. I would have perhaps done it like this. Sometimes the shots are identical also.
Right.
Sometimes there's a different interpretation. And sometimes in that dialogue, in that conversation with the director also, he kind of gets an idea because you had imagined it a certain way. You're very open enough to saying, "Mujhe laga tha you might do it like this."
Right.
Sometimes they'll adapt and say, "Okay, that sounds interesting. We can try it like that." Or they'll say, "No, there is a reason." But these are good conversations to have where you're a student of the same scene's interpretations are different. So it is active, but it's not coming to the fore on a regular basis to interpret a scene and make it happen that way. I'm not sitting on set to say, मैंने ये सोचा ऐसे scene करवाएंगे.
Right.
I'm trying to see, absorb, learn, okay, अच्छा, oh, this is how he's doing the scene, this is how the action sequence is. Oh, interesting, he's taken that bit from there and, okay, that's his cut point. So, but that's a very subconscious thing going on in my mind because I love being on a film set. I've only grown up there. So, this is my home.
What is the first film set that you recall being on?
Roop Ki Rani Choro Ka Raja.
God.
1992 it released, so I was about 5 years old when it was being made, 89, 90.
Yeah.
Most of the time I spent with my father used to be on a film set. So Prem and
that
Roop Ki
was
Rani,
a gigantic film.
Prem and Roop Ki Rani both being made at the same time. Same people, almost, except Anil in one and Sanjay in the other. For me, that was real. This was all like what is happening. Like going to school was, I used to feel like, okay, this is normal. Doesn't exist because I was living on Roop Ki Rani set where there are choppers flying in, where there's a train robbery, where there's a massive song of 200, 300 dancers, where there's Jaggu Dada coming in his imported cars with that style. You're seeing the world from a different lens. So I grew up on, and my father was a king in the sense he still is, but the way he made films, the way he lived his life through those films, you always felt, okay, this is how life is meant to be led.
Right. When I see a Maidan or when I see a Roop Ki Rani or when I see all these other films not do as well as, they perhaps should or whatever it is, I always feel that your father has these very interesting projects and he puts his all and he gives it his all.
Yes.
And sometimes it just comes across like
maybe it doesn't come together or it doesn't land like
or maybe the date is wrong, something at that point the people don't want to see a depressing movie about a coach or whatever it is. It's maybe, it could be a bunch of other things.
Various
have you had talked with your father about like
so I think he's got more right than people remember. The problem is because he's done glorious failures.
Yeah.
So what happens is the tendency is to remember that because he's also agreed that okay, they have not done well. He's not in denial or he's not protecting his.
In fact, he was one of the first who came out and said Maidan was not
so I think honesty is something that flows in our bloodstream a bit too much sometimes. But See, he got a Wanted right at a time where those kind of films are not even in relevance.
Yeah.
He was doing remakes. I mean, Judai, Sirf Tum, Hamare Dil Aapke Paas. I think Pukar was a very good film. It went over budget, so he didn't make money. But if you look back, the material and the way it was made was terrific.
That had that song shot in Alaska and all that.
Yeah, so that was his indulgence. Now he's an indulgent man.
No, but I'm saying it looked glorious on the big screen.
What I mean is he's a cinematic filmmaker. He's got lots right, he's got lots wrong. But those are the odds you play. You look at any big maker, whether it's a studio, whether it's a producer, whether it's directors, whether it's actors. I think the average is you're remembered for about those 5 to 7 great films that you made, and the rest have quite not panned out. I think with Dad, it's just been publicized a lot because he's been gracious about accepting that he's made films that have not done well. Yes, I do agree his indulgence sometimes can put everything under a microscope lens, you know. So you get the fact that Maidan, unfortunately because of COVID, they had to redo the whole football stadium twice, which I don't think most producers would be able to. He did that, but he took it upon himself. The film will last the test of time as a beautiful film, but yes, box office wise, it didn't perform the way it potentially should have. But he owns it. Now that's his choice. He's an indulgent man. Like I did Tevar with him. So when we did Tevar, I can only speak on my. I asked him for a budget. He said, "Don't ask me these things." I said, "Then we can't work together." He gave a budget, which I knew he's never going to fulfill. But I still went along with it. He's always going to go a bit over. The idea was to take perhaps a quintessential mainstream remake, which has done well in 2 languages.
Right.
Actually 3 at that point. Even Bengali had done well, if I remember correctly. And to take this young ad filmmaker who actually has the texture of the multiplex
It's a
nuance.
very well-made movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the idea was, okay, it's a very silly thing, but Sam Raimi made Spider-Man, you know. They took a guy who's a bit on the fringes of doing his own thing, and then you bring him in to give him, and he got a very balanced interpretation. My idea, which I think we got a great director with Amit Sharma into the industry.
Yeah.
They just didn't hit the spot in the success barometer. But actually, like you said, it's a very well-made mainstream film because
very
the villain,
well-crafted film. Yeah.
the antagonist has his journey. In fact, more than the original.
Yeah.
There is a deep-rooted love story one-sided there. We rebuilt the girl and boys' communication and the way they shared that space together. I think the film got a bit elongated, a bit too action-heavy. But in general, the idea was, let's take this young ad filmmaker, let's put him in this mass space, and let's make that marriage and present a new age mainstream film. It takes conviction from a Boni Kapoor to tell me, okay, Arjun, this makes sense, let's do it. It didn't land, the onus is on him. We did go slightly high on the numbers, but see, he's a creative person, so he enjoyed working with Amit so much that even after a flop, he went back and made a film with Amit again.
Yeah.
So I think for him, the joy is the process. I think for most people, it's the result. He is that rare exception where he loves the process. If you ever meet him, if you ever spend time with him off camera, he lives for telling tales. And his life is a biopic going on in terms of the kind of, each film has incidents, anecdotes. Because I think he thrives in those conditions. He likes making films a certain way. He can't change it. Some land, some don't. But I don't think he would have it any other way. You know, he's not landing also, there's a certain elan with which he fails. So I think.
No, I think, you know, the one interesting
I mean, listen,
thing,
he made Company. People don't realize he produced Company. At that time, there was Raat and Drohi that he got into. He's the first guy. When you talk about the South industry now being recognized and being respected and regarded, he's the first person who started going there. He picked up Hum Panch also from there.
No, so I'm saying that your family, whether it's Anil Kapoor, whether it's Boni Kapoor, whether it's Hum Panch or Wo Saath Din, or you know, they were always doing north south, north south, north south. So the thing is, it was never for them. It was like you know, right from the 80s, a lot of Anil Kapoor's films have actually been remakes of southern films.
And he started working there with Mani sir also in the beginning of his career.
Of his career. So the thing is, he's always been similarly Boni Kapoor.
And now Dad has gone and produced films in the recent past with Ajit sir also.
Yeah, and your dad told me a story about, you know, traveling in a bus once
to buy the rights.
To buy the rights of a southern film and stuff like that. So yeah, but what do you think about this current explosion of what, for the lack of a better word, I'd call southern sensibility that has taken over cinema everywhere?
So I think the signs and indications were there for a while, Baradwaj. I think what happened is with the boom of satellite, the dub films started coming into relevance at that point of time. There became an inbuilt audience who enjoys this color. At the same time, multiplexes started doing really well. So we, at the generation that I came in, we were more interested in the higher ticket sales. हम मल्टीप्लेक्स के लिए सस्ती पिक्चर बना सकते थोड़ी सी जो एक्चुअली 60, 70, 80 करोड़ कर जाएगी ना, we'll make enough money out of it because our films are 15, 20 crores, they landed about 25. If we do 50 plus, we're making 25 crores, and then satellite, digital, whatever makes us some
Give me
money.
a couple of examples of those films. Like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the post Dil Chahta Hai type of film, or
Yeah, like, and also in the space that when I say, for example, I did a film called Two States.
right?
It's a well-made film, but the actor cost was controlled. We were young actors.
Yeah.
It's a very multiplex sensibility film because it deals with college love stories and family. So multiplex, I meant there was also a boom of audiences started liking going to your PVRs to sit and watch a film. The single screen lost its charm to some degree in our eyes because वो घर पे TV पे लोग देखते थे. The classism came in the filmmaking and the film viewing.
Yeah.
We were enjoying. There was also a boom in multiplex culture, mall culture, from post Dil Chahta Hai. So we were not trying to appeal to everyone. We were trying to appeal to a certain audience that pays the highest dollar.
Right.
So all our material started leaning towards that side. Not all, I would say.
A lot of it. Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't make a Vicky Donor and Ishaqzadeh in 2012, for example. It's a story about or you can't make Ki and Ka, for example. These were all like Ki and Ka is a prime example. It's driven by the multiplex culture of this young couple coming to watch a film about a house husband, etc. You know, we were more focused on that. An audience got starved.
Right.
There suddenly came a time where the pandemic hit, and now you started consuming all sorts of cinema, including Western, and there was a realization, okay, that our sensibility is only appealing to certain amount of audiences. There was a huge audience that was ignored. They started enjoying Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, and world cinema, and regionally, even the Punjabi and Marathi cinema for that matter. The audience slightly had a wake-up call where Hindi films was not the only exciting thing, and we were not producing enough variation. And boom, suddenly you had a Pushpa. Bahubali had already happened, so it was the tremorings were there, but that was still a period piece, you know. So people looked at Bahubali as an anomaly to some degree. Nobody wanted to accept that the entry had been made.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, it's that one big, period film. Isliye they were, it's very well made. Rajamouli, what a maker.
Yeah.
And everybody knew he's perhaps our Spielberg in that sense, whether he had made a film about a mosquito or whatever. But I think the Pushpa beat, where a film opens at 3 crores and just continues building momentum to do 110 odd crores in certain sections of our country where masses had been ignored, which is the up north mainstream audiences of mass had been ignored.
What you could probably call the Hindi heartland.
Hindi heartland, correct.
Yeah.
At a time where there were other films also released that didn't pan out to potential to the multiplex audience.
Yeah.
There was a mass audience in the cusp of the pandemic again coming back, had gone and consumed a film about a man that is quintessentially playing angry young man again.
Yeah.
So in many ways, Pushpa's material is not, the telling is new, the performance is new, but it comes from the 70s of...
You could say the same for KGF as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where the whole point is, I'm going to take that Maruti and take my mother outside and drive around in Pushpa just to prove a point. I want respect for my mother, which is the interval block of the film also. So I think that's where the realization happened to the audience that these guys actually make more entertaining films rather than going to cerebral or rather than being scared about taking chances. I think we got comfortable. We also, our quality in writing started suffering because we were also kind of delivering to OTT at that point. I think our quality faded slightly because we disconnected from the main audience. We were making multiplex films. Then the multiplex audience got films at home. So the actual theatre going audience was not being serviced by us.
Yeah.
They started being serviced by those people that were always servicing theatrical audiences. They serviced their own fans that always used to go in the first 7 days and consume films. See, South films are very front-loaded in audience culture. The first 3 days are chaos. And then they settle in, and that's why on OTT you see them in 4 weeks because audience dekh leti chara film. So they make audience-centric films because they know their audience. The audience respects whatever they make, they give it a shot. Our audiences today are very used to, it doesn't matter who the hero is. We can like his film last month, but if he gives a film that we don't hear good things about, we're not going. Our audience is now evolved into saying, hum ghar pe baith ke, we'll see monsters.
Yeah.
Because if we want to see a psychological thriller, or we'll watch wolves. They're not, and I hate using the word faithful or loyal. It's tougher to get them on because our quality has suffered.
Yeah.
So there's been a quality suffering where we've disconnected from our audience and not quite appealed to the ticket-paying audience versus them constantly, and then their craft has got so much better. If you see, and I hate using the word South, but I'm saying Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam for the cost, the films they make.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a film called Ayyappan Kosham, which I absolutely adore. Prithviraj has played a role where he's not the main lead.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
And what terrain, you've gone and shot, the scale of
It
that
looks
film.
massive, yeah.
Unbelievable. And scenes are designed and shot, so you feel that. So I think the craft over there has just taken off. We've got a bit westernized over here and not realized that we need to also appeal to that textured audience that enjoys grounded, well-rooted films.
Right.
Again, this is a theory. I might be
I
slightly
think
off.
you're kind of on it because let's say the success of Singham again.
Yeah.
The success of your character. See, it is not a multiplex movie in that
Yeah,
sense,
it's
right?
not. It's not.
So
You're not
the
trying to please that audience.
yeah, same with Bhool Bhulaiya, which came along
Yeah.
with it the same way.
Yeah.
It's like they're very massy, unapologetic. We'll please
Entertainers,
all.
yes.
We want to please audiences
Yes.
first. It's coming first.
It's our equivalent of those summer blockbuster spectacles that you just make have fun and you
so
go
maybe
home.
that is coming back. Do you see yourself fitting into this scenario as well as doing the odd? Do you think the Finding Fanny or the Sandeep or Pinky Farrar that's going to come back again, or is it just
No, I would want to do both there.
right? No, but is that still a viable thing?
For platforms, perhaps.
Okay.
To be able to go and make these intimate films like I love Three of Us. I love Killa also. So I would love to work with Avinash whenever so for me, when I see a Joram, I want to work with Devashish. I'm making no bones about it. Now, whether they find me correct for the casting, that's an inevitability of material.
Right.
When I see a night manager, I'm like, okay, I really like this space, what Sandeep and Priyanka did with the mise en scène of the film, of the show. There was a certain brooding energy to the show. So I like it. But the Aurangzeb, Sandeep or Pinky Farrars and Finding Fannies are now made for OTT.
Yeah.
They're not being made for theatrical audiences, and that's pretty right because, see, you can have a 12th film every once in a while that really breaks out, but the odds of films not panning out are unfortunately a little bit higher today. It's a bit of a gamble. So I would want to do those films. I want to work with those makers. See, I wanted to work with Devakar Banerjee, so I chose to do a film where I'm called Pinky.
Yes.
And the climax is not me dictating and beating the shit out of Jaideep Alapat. It's me dancing
Yeah.
in a garb of being a woman. So I am very, very open to all sorts of makers. And I've always done that. See, criticism, films landing, doing well, not doing well. As an actor, in the purest sense, I'm also an audience member who likes watching all kinds of stuff. As an actor, I like to explore all kinds of stuff. Singham, again, doing well, perhaps empowers me slightly more. Again, to be able to do that kind of material, definitely, because I'm pretty open to playing characters. I'm not always going to come in expecting that I'm the main lead, because I think that time is only over. The collaborative time is here. You need to come in and do films that are getting more people into theatres. And I think down south to even here, that energy is now shifted a lot.
Yeah.
But there is a huge section of my world that relies on drawing from doing a Sandeep or Pinky Farrar, see, I did in India's Most Wanted also to work with a director that had done an Amir.
Yeah.
And a Raid. When I worked with Ashutosh Gavarekar also, he made the period film, but for me, I've always looked at makers, I've always looked at material as an exciting way of doing different kinds of stuff. I really wish, and I'm open to all kinds of stuff, whether it's a show, whether it's a film, whether it's for OTT, whether it's for the big screen. I want to do all kinds of work. I never came here to be number one. I came here to make films. And I don't want to restrict myself from that.
Does one part of you want to be a big ass star?
Listen, if I may dare say so, I'm a big enough star.
Right.
I might have gone through a phase. I'm also that same person that has given the first 100 crore film from my generation. I'm also the first
That
person.
was 2 states?
That was 2 states.
Yeah.
We opened at 16 crores for Gunde. So it's not like I don't have the stardom in that sense. See, it's not tangible that every film does well.
Yeah.
And I'm not living in denial that I'm the biggest. But I do bring value.
Yeah.
There was a phase where the value had diminished. Now I'm hoping with Singham again, there's a recall value and there's an addition, there's a value add to a poster. And why not optimize that? Yeah? So I think obviously if you look back, the optimization today at this age, I have to be realistic and say, okay, there are others who are way bigger stars than me. I accept that. I can stand in front of them and deliver a performance. I understand they might bring more people. But I know I bring a lot of value. And there is stardom, there is people recognize you, people now want to watch you. So I embrace where I am. I feel I'm in a good place. But also it allows me to do my Sandeep or Pinky Farrars hopefully again. For me, the stardom should bring enough value that I can do that also. When I became a star early, I wanted to do Ki and Ka. Everybody told me don't do it. I was told Palki just delivered Shamita. Bebo just got married and delivered Gori Tere Pyar Mein. You don't have a studio in place. you're going to be a house husband. Well, what is this one line? You've done, तूने अभी औरंगजेब और गुंडे किए, तुम testosterone वाला hero है.
I love that तूने मारी entry on song, by the way. It's just one of my favorite go-to songs.
And everybody said, you're the testosterone hero, you're not the chocolate boy, what are you doing? तू heels में नाचेगा. And I wanted to do it. I was empowered enough with my stardom to take that chance. And I would just hope that I can take more impulsive and instinctive chances like that over the course of time.
But that's a good way to look at it, because it's good to say there are different levels of stardom, and I have my own pocket of stardom, and that allows me to do what I want to do.
Fundamentally, my stardom should allow me to make films. Which, to whatever degree, will vary depending on my films doing well.
Okay. By the time I meet you next, let's see what you do next.
Yes, I'm hoping.
All the best.
I'm hoping I give you something that you really enjoy and we can chat about it.
Nice. Thanks, Arjun.
Thank you so much.
Nature's comfort. Ramraj presents bamboo cotton white shirts.
South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
Darling 2025 New Year deals. Latest smartphones at lowest EMI.